Jake, I'm actually going to be a little interactive. So what I'd suggest is maybe mute yourself on the phone or something. And so I can just I can ask questions and we can kind of respond a little bit. But hey there, everyone. Is that working for you, Jake? Okay. All right. It'll be a little weird. You can mute yourself on your phone and then hopefully we can go for it. All right. Hi there, everyone. My name is Ken. And as Jake said, I am the CEO and founder of Hoasty. Oh, no. Come on, computer, do what I say. I'm going to use this little pointer to kind of keep you in line and kind of focus on what we're doing. I hope you can see me in the top right of the screen. I know it's a little weird that I'm kind of remote, but this is live, so I am here right now with you. It's October Wednesday? It really is. It's really here. So I'm actually sitting in Florida right now. That's where my family is, but I come from Chicago. So I was living in Chicago when I started Hoasty. We have the most units in the entire US in Hoasty of all of our units. So we're very familiar with the area and we're excited to get started. So thank you so much, XPlus Realty. And we're thrilled to get this opportunity to talk to you guys about vacation rental and vacation rental management. So usually I'm in person. And so that wasn't possible this time, but I'm going to go over some things. But first I'll tell you a little bit about the company, then I'm going to go over what we do. So a little bit about me. My name is Ken, CEO and founder. What does Hoasty do? Right here on the bottom left, we manage and optimize revenue, most specifically revenue for vacation rentals and Airbnbs. A little bit about me, openly gay and LGBT. Happen to speak fluent Chinese just in case you need it. That's always, I usually get a chuckle. Hopefully someone's chuckling out there. It's kind of weird, like 6'5" white guy. Why are you speaking Chinese? And I started Hoasty earlier this year. Today, Hoasty has just over 30 properties online in over 13 states. We actually have more than 60 properties under contract. We've rapidly expanded, amazing service, 7-day service. We can get into that a little bit later about why, if you decide to purchase a 2 to 4 and you want to leverage something like Hoasty to make one of those units a vacation rental, love to have your business. We can talk about it. I have lots of happy customers in Chicago, so lots of proof of concept there of what works and the legality of it. But that's the quick and dirty of Hoasty. Jake, I'm going to rely on you to get questions for me and just pause me. I'm still on the phone in my ear. So in case you have any questions or anything you want me to stop, just let me know. Cool. And I can hear Jake. So it's like super Hollow Man, everybody. There's little things in my ear. It's very fancy. So some things we're going to cover. We're talking about the market size. Is there potential in Chicago? Do people make money doing vacation rentals? Is it worth your time? If you are in the traditional real estate space, you're very used to traditional rent, right? Send it out, pay the rent on time, rent, expenses, comes out, net, couple $100 a month, right? I'm going to show you a different model, something that has a lot more potential to make you a lot more money, and we'll discuss how that works. We'll discuss the major players in the market. So everyone has probably heard of Airbnb, right? Yeah, I can. Great. Okay, cool. But then what are the other booking platforms? And should you be on other booking platforms? We'll talk about the revenue potential, what you can actually earn, the regulations and licensure of what it's going to look like if you want to make one of your units in a 2 to 4, a vacation rental. I'm going to talk to you about Hoasty's unique acquisition bell curve. So the kinds of properties we like, and we'll talk to you about what those look like. And then finally, we'll dig into some case studies. So I hope that sounds good. Jake, do you have a question? All right, make sure you mute your phone whenever you're not talking to me so it doesn't reverb into my ear. Please, thank you. All right, so Chicago and short-term rental market. So there are just over 9,000 units online currently in Chicago. I'm going to show you a map of what I consider Chicago, right? Everyone might say all the way past Evanston. No, we're getting a little smaller. But there's more than 9,000 units online. In 2018, it was just over $109 million. So, chump change, it's nothing big. And it has a 23% year-over-year growth. People are coming to Chicago more often. It's a rapidly growing city, super expanding, highly affordable. People love to visit from all over the Midwest and beyond. So you'll see this data a lot. I'm going to show you a lot of this. Where this all comes from is a company called AirDNA. I'm going to talk to you about why AirDNA is valuable. Now, there's Airbnb, totally separate company than AirDNA. AirDNA is a data company. What this is this is a similar report to what Hoasty delivers to any prospective client who wants to turn one of their units into a vacation rental. Because you might say to yourself, well, hey, like it might be really interesting if a property could make $3,000 a month and the traditional rent is $1,500. But how do I know about my property? Well, if you were to go to Hoasty.co, I hope it's not too small on your screen, Hoasty.co, not .com, and you submit an address, our team will run a report and give you something like this 100% for free. So we pay for this data and we deliver it to any prospective customer to help you make decisions and help the XPlus Realty team help you decide to buy a building, not just based on traditional rental income, but based on if you were to take, let's say, a 3-unit or a 4-unit, make 2 or 3 of them traditional rental and one of them is a vacation rental, or even better, as I'm sure Jake will talk to you about, is to house hack. Live in one of the units, vacation rent the other one, have it pay all your bills. Not bad. So this is the Chicago market. We deliver this kind of data all the time. You'll see an average daily rate, an occupancy rate across the city, and then the revenue per unit. Let's dig a little bit deeper into that. So one of the biggest pieces in the top right, it might be covering this, but one of the biggest pieces I discuss is these 3 little pieces down here. You see purple is entire home, blue is private room, and green is shared room. If you all don't know the original story of Airbnb, and actually VRBO predates Airbnb heavily, like really far back. But if you didn't know, how Airbnb got started was it was a big conference in San Francisco. There were some guys trying to make some money because they couldn't pay their rent, and they built a simple little website, and they started renting out literally an air mattress on their floor in their living room, which is bananas. But the convenience to the conference center is why it worked. So that's why you see shared room, and you can see it's so small. This is not zero revenue, but shared rooms in Airbnb, do you really want to go and stay in someone's living room? Do you want to go stay on their couch? Probably not, right? That's not what you're looking to pay for. Same thing with a private room. You're not nearly as likely to want to go stay in someone's private room because you don't want to interact with them. You don't know what's going to go on. So as you can see, it's a very small market comparatively. It's still, millions of dollars in Chicago, but it's nowhere near the double-digit millions of entire home. So this is a good place to stop and say, whenever Hoasty talks about vacation rentals, we only work with entire home. We do not rent out individual rooms. I do not suggest that. There's so much more liability and difficulty for you as a property owner. So, if you're house hacking, you own a single unit and it's a 4-bedroom and you're living in one, maybe you can Airbnb the other 3 rooms, but really you don't know who these people are. Although most guests are great, I would be very hesitant of that. So when I talk about vacation rentals, I'm always talking about entire home rental. Now, has the demand grown? Again, we deliver all this data to our prospective clients, but this is the demand over the past few years of how many units were needed. The yellow is the supply and the purple is the demand. As you can see, it's grown rapidly. There's been much more need over the past few years, especially during the summer, right? So there's a high demand and a pretty reasonable supply for vacation rentals in the Chicago market. Now, first question, Jake, I'm going to actually ask for a little callback. Which booking platform do we believe is the top booking platform in Chicago? Airbnb, boom. What's number 2? Yep. What's number 3? Oh my God, that's pretty good. Who's good? Whoever that was, give him a drink. What's number 4? You guys see my eyebrows moving? HomeAway? Well, actually, I'll give it to you. You guys are way better than most audiences. All right, go back on mute. So Airbnb is the leader with just over 70% of the entire market of Chicago. HomeAway actually bought VRBO. So that's a confusing thing, but they're actually the same company now. What you might not think of is FlipKey, Booking.com, and Expedia. So one of the biggest values of using a company like Hoasty, or by leveraging a ton of technology, if you decide to vacation rent your property, is you now have a distressed asset. What does that mean? You have 28 days to 31 days, depending on the month, of days that can be sold at any price you say they could be sold. What's your home worth? $300 a night, $200 a night, $500 a night? Depends. What did you sell it at? All that matters is the money that crosses hands. So one of the biggest things that I suggest when I'm working with clients, and make sure it's on here, how can a client leverage the changing short-term rental market, be on all the platforms? So as you can see, you might say, hey, look, like HomeAway is really small in the vacation rental market in Chicago. I don't even need to waste my time putting it on there. I completely disagree. Although HomeAway is less than 20% of Hoasty's entire business, in some markets it's completely different. For example, we have a couple properties like cottages in Michigan. It's 70% HomeAway. So if we were on HomeAway and we were relying entirely on Airbnb, we'd be in huge trouble. Same thing with Flipkey or Booking.com or Expedia. Now, these three platforms, we always discuss with our owners what it means whenever you use them. But what I'm trying to say here is you have a distressed asset and you need to have it on as many platforms as possible. Now, as you can imagine, does Airbnb really want you posting on HomeAway? No. Does VRBO want you posting on Airbnb? No. They're not made to plug into each other. They want you to only post on their platform. So you have to invest into technology and tools to help you accomplish that. But it's paramount to be getting the right amount of money that you want if you're going to be in the vacation rental management business. So this is one of the biggest questions. Actually, Jake, let me go ahead and pause real quick. Any questions so far? I know I kind of talk fast. I'm very East Coast. Any questions so far, Jake? Nah, Jake, you're muted. All right, I'll keep going. So how much can your property make? So I parsed out a few different neighborhoods through XPlus Realty's expert advice on what a property could make, and then I actually got some case studies. Now, first thing I'll say is how this data works is whenever you submit an address to an AirDNA or you submit it to Hoasty, we're going to drop a pinpoint in that address, and then we're going to find 10 to 12 properties in the closest proximity possible. So if you give me a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom in Wrigleyville, I'm going to find the closest 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom around you, the 10 to 12 of them. Why? Location, location, location. That's how real estate works, right? So we want to find comps, and it's really hard to do comps in vacation rental because we're trying to assume everything is equal, which is probably not, right? And I can't really assume for a rooftop or like a in-unit spa or whatever, all those things are not possible to computate for. But the minimum we can do is say, okay, we got a 3-2, we have a 3-2, they're 1 block away from each other. They should make similar income. So that's how this works. We get a lot of questions about that, like what is the occupancy and how does the average daily rate work and why is it bigger and smaller? This is averages. But in the bottom left, you can see that the rental channel, it actually shows you how much comes in this area from Airbnb, 70%. How much comes on HomeAway, 9%. But if you see, it's actually a very small number comparatively that's on both platforms. You need to be doing that if you're in this business. Also, see all that purple on the map? That's all entire home. Private rooms are a very small amount in Wrigleyville. You'll see some of these too, these market guides. So this is a 49 out of 100, which is kind of funny because we all know Wrigleyville is super high traffic. People really want to go here. But it's just, maybe it doesn't have a high enough growth. Maybe it's super seasonal. There's some regulation difficulties. But anyway, you'll see different scores. We like properties in the B and A, but it's not always possible. It's always real estate's all about the purchase. Here's Avondale. So this is another major neighborhood. I know that I used to live in Uptown when I lived in Chicago. So you're going to find cheaper prices here. As well, I just want to remind everyone, this will be recorded and able to be sent to you. So you will get a copy of this afterwards. So in case I go too fast or I zip through like Lincoln Park, don't worry, you can come back. I will give you not only the PDF of this entire slideshow, but a video of this for everyone who is an XPlus Realty customer. So this is also Ukrainian Village. This is just some of the data we can deliver to you. But what I will always say is the best way to get them the best data is to go look at an individual property. So submit it to Hoasty, go to hoasty.co, submit the property. It's 100% for free. We don't charge for any of this because we know you can't make decisions and XPlus can't help you acquire a property unless you have the data in your hand. And we're here afterwards to help you once you've got that. So we're going to get into a case study of some more specifics. I think like saying revenue of 2254 is like, what does that mean, right? That's on a monthly basis, but we'll get into some more specifics. So bear with me. So again, hard pitch, submit the property to hoasty.co. We want to help you. You can literally do it on your phone. I have timed it. It takes about 19 seconds. So even submit your own home address. Use this on an unlimited basis. We want you to use this tool. We pay a lot of money for AirDNA. We're passing on the savings to you because we want you to work with us. That's how it works. Let's talk about regulations in Chicago. So A couple different things that hit the Chicago market. Number one, there is a licensing fee of $500 annually. Good news is Airbnb pays it for you. So what we suggest, if you're not going to use someone like Hoasty, if you use someone like Hoasty, it's totally separate. If you do it on your own, you need to produce your property on Airbnb first. They pay for your license. They have a direct connection to the city. And then once you have that license, then you put it on HomeAway and VRBO and the others. One of your biggest problems is going to be homeowners association restrictions if you're buying condos. Now, you are house hackers. You are looking to own the whole unit. Great. We really support that. Then you make the HOA because you got the whole place to yourself. Great. But that's been a big problem. You will have to have special insurance. So usually it's not a large increase, but we're not insurance agents, right? And we don't know your insurance agent and your unique situation. So we always say speak to an insurance agent about this. Most major companies have insurance products for this by now. You will be required to have an inspection by the city of Chicago. What's funny is we have, I want to say 19 or 20 properties online today in Chicago. We have a large amount. That might be too many, 15, 20, whatever. We have a lot, and some things are seasonal and whatnot. But we've never been inspected, not a single one of our properties. So it is one of the regulations, but I don't know. There's an 8.5% gross rental tax, which sounds awful, right? That's a big chunk. It's almost a dime of every dollar you make. Here's the good news. Your guest pays all of it. So it's not really your problem. A couple different differences between the platforms. Airbnb remits your taxes for you. So they charge it to the guest, then they keep it in a little pot of money, and then they pay the city at the end of the year. VRBO and HomeAway does not do that. They will charge this tax to the guest, but they give it back to you, and it is your responsibility to pay it. Hoasty cannot pay it for you. We are not tax professionals. We can't even legally do it. So we use a company called Ad Valera. Really simple, costs $20 a month. You pop in a few things, and it helps you perfectly calculate what you need to pay every month. And of course, we pay our owners once a month, so it all fits well. Why are regulation and taxes a good thing? Because that means it's going to stay around for longer. So the beautiful thing about the city of Chicago is they gave it the and it exists. Now you have a license. And once there's a license, that means they can't take away your ability to vacation rent properties. In New York City, they took it away, they gave it back, took it away, they gave it back. But now, since licenses exist in Chicago, you can have one of your units be a vacation rental. Now let's talk about the Chicago specific unique regulation. Whether you have a 2-unit, 3-unit, or a 4-unit, you may only vacation rent one of those units, which kind of sucks. Because, if you have a 1-1 unit and a 1-1 unit, Hoasty has the ability to vacation rent that 1-1 separately from that other 1-1, but we can also do them as a joint unit. So whenever both are empty, we can actually sell it as a 2-2, which is super cool. We have some great tech to do that. But I digress. This is life in Chicago. Now, some of the ways around that, if you go buy a 3-unit, we can list your other 2 units as a vacation rental. But house hacking is all about, cash flow. So what I suggest, buy a 4-unit, get that Fannie Freddie, get that super low minimum down payment. And you can talk to me about my opinions about that later. But get that, use that mortgage, leverage that debt, live in one of those units. In another unit, vacation rent one of those units, the biggest, nicest one, because it's going to make you the most money. The other 2 are your traditional rental. They'll probably pay all your bills. And that top unit, that Airbnb one, is all your income. I should probably leave it to the realtors to actually tell you. Yep. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. No, they're not. Correct. Correct. And, you're fine. You're fine. And a lot of people really like that. You can make quite a bit more money than a traditional rental, but it's also like coming and going constantly. So you got to decide that for yourself. Now, this is not very valuable, right? Like, I don't love this, but I'm just trying to do a juxtaposition between traditional rent and vacation rental income or short-term rental income. What I'm going to show you is vacation rental and short-term rental income is 9 times out of 10 higher and probably a better decision for you if you're going to use this as an investment property to make you more money. Let's get into it. So here's one of my clients actually who currently is a client of ours. 5-bedroom, 2-bath. They're over in West Race, so just below. You can even call them the edge of Ukrainian Village. I think he tries to like say he's like near West Loop, but who knows? So average rent in this area is going to be just about $3,500. We tried to use some Zillow stuff and like it wasn't perfect, but the average rent for this property would be $3,500. Here's what we got whenever we did the air DNA of this property. $71,000 for a 5-bed, 2-bath in this area. And that's only at the 51% occupancy. We have had this client for just over 6 months, and we are currently making a substantial amount more than this because we have a higher than 51% occupancy. So what does that mean? That means if we're comparing the ROI of this property, assuming that it would have traditionally had a $3,500 a month rent, something around there, right? And I think that might even be high. Correct me if I'm wrong, realtors, but it might be high. Net of Hoasty's fees, we charge 20%. I am very clear that we get paid for what we do because we're constantly upselling and handling turnover and cleaning and whatnot. You are still going to make a substantial amount more. I think that's just over 20% more per month. And that's only at a 51% occupancy. I'll have a few more of these case studies, but my whole deal for Hoasty is more money, less stress. Let's talk about some other benefits of this property. Another benefit is you can use this property whenever you want to. So if you have family coming into town, or you're doing a reunion or doing an event, and you want to use that property, Hoasty has no problem with that. Any day you use it, we just block it off for you, and it's perfectly clean because every single time a guest leaves, the whole property is professionally cleaned. You can visit your units on vacation for a tax write-off. So if it's in the same city, it's not necessarily that useful. But if you decide to go buy a property, let's say in Florida, or let's say in Alabama or in Texas, the flight, the gas, the car, all of that is a tax write-off to go see your investment, to check on your investment. There are no landlord laws. So there are a different type of fair housing regulation because it's a private establishment. You're allowed to have certain rules, and like Airbnb will definitely doesn't want you to discriminate. But they do not have a lease. They don't have a right to that property. They have a right to the access during a certain time period. Therefore, no evictions, no squatting, and a person can never get inside your unit if it's with someone like Hoasty until they've paid. You are never chasing dollars. You always have the money beforehand. So what I try to say to people when they're considering this as a potential for their real estate investment, look at Hoasty as passive income. Leverage us. We will only call you when something serious is going on, but most of our clients, we don't even speak to them, but once a month, and that's when we send them their check. So it's literally mailbox money. Can I pause right there? Jake, any kind of questions you guys have? You got to unmute, Jake. I could hear him actually. Yeah, I did. Yeah. So what does the 20% include? We're going to get into that a little bit later. But essentially the 20% is the management. We don't set up Airbnbs. You have to furnish them. You have to pay for the utilities and any kind of external like maintenance, or like if you got to like remove snow or whatnot. We have lots of tools and suggestions for that, but that's not what we handle. What we do handle is communication, pricing, upselling, cross-selling with our other units, turnover, purchasing your consumables, your toilet paper, paper towels, all those things to make sure it's a seamless experience, 24-hour guest communication, 7 days a week, all of that facilitation. We basically call ourselves a hospitality company. Our job is to be your front desk, always accessible, always there to make sure it's a seamless experience. Because you might look at this revenue and say, wow, why would I not do this? Of course I'm going to do this. But the challenge is a lot of work goes into this to make it possible. Did I answer your gentleman's question? Any more questions? I can also tell dad jokes if you want me to. I'm just saying. All right, let's keep going. So, all right, Jake, back on mute. Thank you. So, Hoasty vacation rental bell curve. So, if you're not familiar with what a bell curve is a visualization of the word average. As you can see here, 68.2% is like what most people do. What I'm trying to show you is I want to show you, especially in real estate, how to not be average. Right? You're obviously at this event because you're interested in working with someone at XPlus Realty. They're obviously not average. They are the top seller of multi-units in the city of Chicago. Like you're not here for average. I'm going to teach you about vacation rentals as a bell curve, and the way I'm going to suggest you look to acquire them. If you're acquiring a multi-unit building, I'm going to talk to you about which unit to select as your vacation rental. So the Hoasty bell curve works like this. You are either looking for super small or super big. Why are you looking for large? Large is groups, families, bachelorette, family reunions. My cousins did rent a 5-bedroom place in River North for a wedding. They were getting married and they needed all the family to come together. And it was much more pleasurable and much less expensive to rent this 5-bedroom place. It might even been $1,000 a night, but here's the deal. We fit, 11 adults in there. And so $5,000 in 5 days, wouldn't you hate getting that, right? Even River North, that's still big money. But what I'm saying is that's only possible because it was so large. We love this. So if you have a unit that's going to be massive, or you want to fuse 2 of your units together, this is where we see the largest dollars being made is that 4, 5, 6 bedroom. Let me be clear, not units, 4, 5, 6 bedroom inside a unit. Might seem crazy, but you saw that 5.2 that I showed you in West Race, it's actually a duplex we fused together. Now the other side, super small, 1 bedrooms and studios. When I first got to Chicago, funny story, lived at 1325 West Wilson in Uptown. Had a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. I don't know anything, so I decided to Airbnb my place when I was on trips. That's not allowed in apartment complexes, so I almost got myself in a lot of trouble. But I did it, and I used it to pay my rent several times over. They kept telling me to stop, but I just didn't. And I do it for like $250 a night. And during a Cubs game, I'd make some crazy money. I'd literally go hang out on Friday in 3 days. That's not what I'm doing now. But super small units are very attractive for couples traveling, for business, for smaller groups, for 1 or 2 people, or even 3, 2 people in the queen size bed and 1 on the couch. But these are what I'm talking about when I talk about a bell curve. I'm talking about quantity. There's demand across the board for traveling, but if you are a couple, you're not going to go book a 4-bedroom place. And if you are 5 adults or 6 adults traveling together, the chances that you book a 3-bed is very low. You're going to book a 4, 5, and 6 bed. You really want your own bedroom. If you're going to go ahead and spend the money, you want to travel in convenience. So let me show you some examples. We pulled these a little earlier based on some suggestions from the XPlus Realty Group. So here's a 1-1 inside a this is a multi-unit. I think it's a 3. Great for personal and business travel, couples, and the traditional rent for a 1-1 around here is going to be about $1,100. I'm getting this from Zillow, so don't quote me. I'm not great at traditional rent. I'm good at vacation rental income, but traditional rent is not my speed. So quick math, 20. I'll do it on my phone real quick. So what's going to be 27 divided by 12? Yeah, times 0.8 for what you net. It's going to net around $1,800 a month, right? 600 more, or just over. It's almost, I think it's just over 50%. My speed percentages are not great, but it's just over 50% more revenue. NBD, not bad, right? Not a bad idea whenever you're looking at something like this as a potential for one of your units in your multi-unit. On the other side, here's a 6-bed, 3-bath. This could be 2 duplexes or even a triplex put together. Traditional rent for 6 bedrooms in the Bissell area is going to be about $4,275, right? But if we take that $102,000 and we divide it by 12, it's about $8,500 a month. And if we do 80% rule, it's going to be $6,800 a month. And that's still at a 50% occupancy. So you would be netting $6,800 a month, or again, more than 30% more income month over month. So This is what I'm trying to teach you guys. And again, all of this data, this is exactly the data that Hoasty delivers you each and every time we deliver you a revenue report. So I haven't received nearly enough emails yet of everyone at that event submitting their properties. So you better get on your phone, put in your address, even if it's your home address, I don't care. I want you to see what this could look like in Chicago. It's going to help you, and it's going to help the XPlus Realty Group help you decide if this is a good venture to go down. Hard sell. So that was intelligent acquisition. Now, one of the last things I'm going to talk to you guys. Wait, I'll pause here for a quick question. Jake, any more questions about this before I get into like just letting everyone ask me questions? Yeah. The way around it, I actually could hear you. So the way around it is if you have 3-unit building, you're only making one listing. The rule for Chicago is you can have one listing per multi-unit. There's actually it's for every 6 units you have, you can have one Airbnb. So if you guys buy an 18-unit building, which I'm sure XPlus would love, and it'd be great, make a bunch of money. But if you buy an 18-unit building, you can have 3 vacation rentals. But anything 6 bedrooms or less, I'm sorry, 6 units or less, only 1 vacation rental. I'm sorry, it's 4. Oh my God, my brain. Sorry, it's 4 units. 6 units is in New York City. Sorry, 4 units. 25% rule. I'm so sorry, team. I heard you. So all of the booking platforms have to report to the City of Chicago. City of Chicago is a center because they are the one who collect the taxes. So whether it's Airbnb, HomeAway, VRBO, FlipKey, TripAdvisor, it doesn't matter. They're all reporting to the City of Chicago. So don't think you can be sneaky. I think it's a good idea to be sneaky, but it's not going to work in this situation. I'm sorry. Nah, no, they all across the board, if it's a booking platform these days, they're going to require you to remit the taxes or at least collect the taxes, and they're going to require to have a license. And maybe, some of them have grace clauses. For example, if you use FlipKey, and they'll let you put it on for 60 days or 90 days. But if you don't have that license, they're going to start pinging you and saying, hey, where is it? Then they'll call you, then they'll just shut it off. I think it's a couple $100 a day. Okay. When did you do that? Okay. So I think you've done a great job. Have you received your license number? Which is amazing because not always. So we've had it be 2 to 3 week delays before. I'd be interested in your situation because we've gotten like delayed approvals and whatnot. I think it's because of the size of our company and like all the people that work with us. But that's awesome. Like, congrats if you got that to work. What we've experienced is you got to be really careful about your registration number and it being on a per unit basis because if they realize, like, was that property you're talking about? Is it 2 units or 1 unit? Hmm. Yeah, so it still works, right? You're only vacation renting 1 unit, so it makes perfect sense they would allow that. Am I right? Did I catch you correctly? Huh? And do you just go in and lock one of the bedrooms? Like, why would you do just 2 or 3? I'm confused. Interesting. Hmm. That's kind of cool and weird. I've never heard that before, but awesome. Cool. Hmm. Good for her. Yeah. So let me just comment on that real quick. Most of our units have full kitchen, and most of our units have in-unit washer and dryer. I can talk to you guys a little bit later about like how to decide and why those things are worth it. But it's just the expectation these days of like things people like literally filter for when they look for Airbnbs. So I want to keep you guys on like I know we only have about 20 minutes left. Like I've talked a lot, so I'm almost done, and I just want to get done, and then we can go for all the questions. That sound good, team? All right, almost done. So, how to acquire intelligently. This is actually a great conversation for the XPlus Realty team. If you've never heard of a 1031 exchange, this is a great way once you start buying investment property. A lot of my clients do this. They buy our property, they sit on it for 5 or 10 years, they build that equity in it, and they decide they want to buy another property. I think the next event, Jake, correct me if I'm wrong, but the next event you're going to do is just on 1031 exchanges. It's a complicated subject, has timelines, it has rules, but I have this handy dandy visual. So this is if you're going to sell a multi-unit and buy a larger property. If you do not 1031 exchange a property, and I'll let Jake talk to you about it further later, um, you're going to pay a large percentage of your profits to the IRS. But if you use a 1031 exchange, you can't actually touch the money. So it has to go into an escrow account. You can't touch it. It has to go to a special 1031 exchange company and they handle the money for you. You can never touch it yourself. But you can reinvest that money, all of that profit from that unit straight into the next property. So that is the fastest explanation, under 1 minute explanation of a 1031 exchange. Hope that wets your whistle for the potential of the next XPlus Realty presentation. Um, You're welcome. Yeah, I usually talk about it anyway, but 3 big reasons why you might want to be interested in this, especially with multi-units. Great way to defer taxes. That's what real estate's all about. Great way to grow your wealth, and more importantly, to scale your real estate empire. Just a few more slides, and we are done, y'all. So let me talk about why you want to consider leveraging something like Hoasty.co. Here's the general answer of what we do. We are a very simple relationship, 80-20. If you do some research, especially in the city of Chicago, most vacation rental managers are going to range from 28% to 35% of your gross income. Whew, that's a lot. We cut down on these costs and these expenses by not having boots on the ground. We do all of our management remotely, and we can talk about the flaws, the benefits, and the value of that. But we believe more dollars in your pocket means you're usually a happier customer. And if we can provide the same quality and or better quality by not being physically there, that's not bad. We provide hospitality grade management. Again, we can talk about that a little later. We kind of treat ourselves like a hotel remotely. We handle cleaning and general maintenance of your property. Now, maintenance is probably the most important thing we got to discuss what that means. We will facilitate maintenance. Give you a quick example. One of our clients happens to be in Africa because, globetrotting. He's in Africa right now, but he had a plumbing issue, really low water pressure, and the hot water heater wasn't working. Big problem, right? He's in Africa. Couldn't connect with him at all. So Hoasty went ahead and coordinated a solution. We do not handle maintenance. It's not included in our 20% fee. We don't add any additional fee. So that was like $500, and we just pass that fee along to the owner. But what we did is coordinate it. The difference between what we do as hospitality management and property management. Property managers have a lot of licensure, there's a lot of rules around them, but more importantly, they have vetted your vendors. We do not and cannot. We're in 13 states right now. We're rapidly expanding. We're going to hope to be close to 50 states next year. We don't know all the plumbers or the snowplows or the this or the that. That's not what we do. So we are very focused on hospitality management, guest pricing, money. We are not focused on if your, let's say, fridge breaks down. We have to come to you or we have to go solve it for you. Other things that we do, we have multiple listing platforms. So whenever we get your property, we can put it across all the major booking platforms. That means that you have a much higher chance of making more money. We also handle experience management. When we talk to our guests get a phone call from us. They get automated messaging. We use a company called Remote Lock. So we only allow that guest to be in your property for the timeline they paid for. So every single time someone comes to your property, we have a little keypad, and that keypad will never allow someone, if they have not booked that time, they won't get a unique code. And about 15 minutes after their booking is over, their code disappears. So we are very serious about security, tracking who comes in, who goes out, which cleaners are there, which maintenance person's there. We control all of that remotely, which is great because we keep the security of your property and it's not your problem. And then last and probably most importantly is revenue optimization. We have built out algorithms, and I can tell you a little bit more about my mathematics history, but let's just say I've won a few math contests. I'm a big algorithm buff, and we built out a number of different algorithms that stack upon each other that work to keep your occupancy very high. In simple terms, if we're booking about a week out, we're going to have that price relatively lower. Hopefully we've already sold those days, but we're going to have those days lower because if those days pass, it's wasted revenue for you, right? But your best guest, the people that you really want, are going to book 30 to 90 days plus in advance. Because, if you're going to plan an actual vacation, you're going to allot some money for it. You're going to plan it in advance. Many guests for us book 60, 90, 120, 180, 1 year in advance. And we love it because they pay full rate. They pay your base rate plus usually 40%. That is what Hoasty facilitates because we want you to make more money because we make more money. But what is our secret sauce? This is one of the reasons why I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love secret sauce in business. So the Hoasty network is our secret sauce. What this is a way for all of our properties to cross-sell each other. So what this is, every time a guest stays with us, we offer them this subscription model. It's $200 a year. And what those guests receive is a number of things. They get concierge, phone service, but more importantly, they get unlimited early check-in and late checkout at all of our units nationwide. What is that doing? That is helping our guests not only use Airbnb, because remember, we've talked about taxes and we've talked about some other things, but if I'm going to raise my hand and ask real quick, what does this group believe that Airbnb charges as a fee to your guests? Anyone know? Anyone have an idea? As a percentage? More. More. It can be up to 17% these days. Talk about crazy, right? Imagine you're booking it for $100 a night. Your guest has to pay the 8.5% tax and an additional potentially 10, 8, 9, 12, 17%. Airbnb constantly changes how they do this, but it can be huge. So booking on Airbnb is a great idea for reviews and whatnot. It's a great way to get them. But Hoasty also has its own private booking platform, allows your guests to save more money. But some other values, I heard there are Airbnb owners in the audience, so they can tell you when someone books your unit, on Airbnb 3 months in advance, that money stays with Airbnb. You don't get that money until they finish their stay. Whereas if they book directly with someone like Hoasty, we get the money in advance, we hold that money, and then we can pay you out quicker. So right now, we have hundreds of guests in our Guesty network. The biggest value to you is prepayment. You have their credit card details in case they misbehave. But probably the most importantly, we're building loyalty and an insulated community of guests. By the end of 2020, we will probably have more than 5,000 guests inside the Hoasty network. And what that means is we have people who are specifically looking to stay at Hoasty units. If you go on your phone, you type in hoasty.co/book, and you click the little button to go to our booking website, you can see all of our units nationwide. And that's where we give our guests, and we say, once we've had you stay once, and once you've joined our network, then you have the ability to book with us that way. Which means you can, if you stayed at our Austin unit, maybe you want to stay at one of our Avondale units and maybe one of our Florida units. And now it starts cross-selling each other. You see what I'm saying? We all know Airbnb because we've used it or experienced it, and we've said, we expect the same quality at all of them. It's the same thing with Hoasty. We understand that we want to create this insulated network of guests who want to stay at all of our units across the board. So whenever we get more units in Texas or in New York or in Florida, each one of those is helping your investment in Chicago. And that's my wrap. I'm Ken. I hope every one of you have already submitted at least one property to hoasty.co so you can see what the revenue reports look like for your property and any prospective investment. And I'm ready for your questions, Jake. Nabi, understand, Jake, it's only passive if you have a manager. If you got to do this yourself, you got to handle toilet paper and like cleaners, and you got to handle how much paper towels are in the unit. And oh my God, it's the hand soap. There's so much to do, but it's passive if you use a manager. Ooh, Jake, no, you go first. I want to hear our differences. Yeah. No rugs. No rugs at all. Too much cleaning. So obnoxious. Don't do it. Uh, yeah, I would say $5,000. So what Hosty does is we don't do the furnishing, but we have a whole list of things that we're going to expect whenever you have a unit under us. If is she done? I could barely hear. Okay, so what I'll say is just be careful. Like I appreciate frugality, but I will say just be very careful of not undercutting yourself. It needs to look great. I don't care what the I don't care where that chair came from. It needs to look amazing and like really cute and like Instagrammable and very picturesque because pictures is what sells it. So we budget $5,000 per bedroom per unit. So if you buy a 3-bed, I'm going to suggest you budget $15,000. You make it all back first year very quickly. So don't worry about that. Worry about if you undercut yourself and if you don't make the unit look great, then you might lose out on potential bookings if someone says, oh, it looks kind of dingy, or like, oh, why is it so dark? Or like, why are there no curtains? You know, the curtains are $20. Like, don't cut corners. We give you a whole list on Hoasty of all the things we're going to suggest you have, but you can absolutely do it for $2,500 or $3,000 or something, like on the lower end. But and one of my big my hacks is you go to Walmart and get their big 8-inch foam mattresses with the mattress cover and with this the little feet on the bottom. It's $400 for a queen size bed. That's one of our biggest hacks we use. It feels great. It's really durable. It has like years of warranty, but your beds are usually one of your biggest expense, and getting it for $400 is a steal. So anyway, I have many of those ideas, but we budget $5,000 per bedroom in a unit. Well, we have a $1,000 sign-on fee, but here's how we use that. So a couple reasons why we do that. Number one, we want you to be serious. Hoasty has no interest in doing business with someone who's not interested in making money on this project. So if you're not willing to invest $1,000 to start, you're probably not a good client for us, because down the road, we might have to go buy some more dishes or whatnot, and like things are going to happen, like little tidbits here and there. But what do we do with that $1,000? We pay for your professional lock installation, your photography, and a full inspection of your property. The reason why we pay for those three things, and basically we're just exchanging those dollars, the reason why is we want to make sure that lock is installed perfectly. So we monitor how that works. Number two, we're going to have a deep cleaning of that property to make sure it's spick and span and perfect when your first guest arrived. And number three, when we say inspection, we send someone in to check every light bulb, every switch, everything they could, every open, is the cabinet squeaky, all of that, every problem, your guests will find it, every single issue. And we've seen so many times where, let's say a sink is clogged or something really simple, you know, or the toilet runs or something, the guests will complain about it. And if they booked through Airbnb and you got it through Airbnb, the guest can say, oh, the toilet was running, I could barely sleep, it was an awful experience, I want 50% off my $1,200 stay. They can do that. And Airbnb is very incentivized to side with the guest because that guest is their customer, not you. So they'll give them $600. They experienced the whole thing. They ate the whole cake. It was delicious. They really liked it. They said, oh, it was too fatty. Oh, well, here's half the money back. Ridiculous. I fight this problem all the time for our owners. So we like to make sure that we start off on the right foot, make sure the property is in great shape, ready to go before we get started. You need professional photography. So a couple reasons why. We really like what a professional photographer will do to edit your photos. So they look great. Like they'll do, we even had a photographer in Florida. She took a picture of like a property on the front and there was some blue sky in the back. She edited it to add like a beautiful purple orange sunset in the back. She did that without us even asking. It looked amazing. And we want that, right? This has to look picturesque. It has to look perfect. You're really wanting to stay here. So we do require professional photography. Professional photographers use really high quality cameras. The images are actually larger. And why that matters is because the booking platform algorithms are going to look at the size of that photo. They're going to look at, they have a couple different, machine learning algorithms to decide which photos are good photos, which photos are bad photos, it's fuzzy or whatnot. But one of the biggest parts of that is the size of the actual photo. So you always want professional photography. I'm here. Y'all got me. I'm not trying to leave. Jake, you're gonna have to repeat. I couldn't hear him. Absolutely. What's kind of funny is guests kind of think it's like Chicago unique. We actually have some really high performing coach houses. It's all about location, right? Like they don't care if it's like a multi-unit building or a coach house. They couldn't care less. So I think you'll be surprised at how much your guests don't even know what a coach house is. And they just think it's like a big city and like buildings are close together. So yes, we've had success with coach houses. I think we have a couple online right now. If you go on hoasty.co/book, you can see some of the photos, but we have several coach houses online right now. And I want to shout out to Andrew Zernder for submitting his property to hoasty.co. I only see one, so the entire audience is in trouble. Yeah, y'all need to submit your properties. You kick it down. I heard him. Kick the gate down. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's awful. Yeah, it's awful. Oh. Oh my gosh, so many laws. Let me ask you this. Okay. So tell me if I'm right because we experience this a lot. So we're talking about a gate blocking like the street traffic, then a front door that's going to be to all your multi units, and then an actual door to your individual unit. Correct? Got it. I'm a wizard. I got you in here. So that front gate, you have to have some kind of pin pad. That's the only way to go around it. Whether it's a pin pad or it's like a combination lock. Take Jake's suggestion. My other one is you go ahead and use remote lock on the front door of your building and the individual unit. Remote lock has a super high end freezing proof lock. It's going to be more expensive, but like your time is way more valuable than you being physically there to let those guests in. That's crazy. I think the really high end lock is like $400-500, and then you'd also need another lock on your actual unit door, which again that can be the cheaper one. That's like $300. But here's the deal: like, what is your time worth, right? Like, what is the experience worth? What is your time worth? So Hoasty could automate that entire process, assuming that front gate can have a pin pad or something that can be used with the same guest each time. We have an automated system that will automatically, when a guest books, so you book my unit instantly on Airbnb, you book an instant booking 6 days, right? It starts at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Our locking system for both those locks will sync and then say, this guest gets the PIN code 2131 at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. They can only check in at that time, and then it's automatically over. I'm sorry, the check-in times for us is always 4 p.m. Check in at 4 p.m., check out at 10 a.m. It's automatically over 6 days later, and that way it's seamless. But I understand your struggle. I would love to help you if you wanted to become a client of ours. We could help you through this process. But it's the huge problem of multi-unit buildings. Now, we have seen other tenants loving those locks and those like keyless entry because they lose their keys too. So I think you'll be impressed that your traditional tenants will actually not have a problem with it. But yes, we use remote lock for this reason, helps with security, and those keys get lost. And then the worst thing is, y'all in Chicago have those crazy key kiosks. So when we originally started this business about 3 months in, some nefarious character took one of our physical keys, went to one of those key kiosks, copied it, and boom, they had keys to the unit. They came back a few weeks later and threw a massive blowout party in it. And we lost our mind because we were like, what? But if someone has a key to your property, isn't that crazy? Like, it's genius and also awful, right? Like, they're so smart. So I hate keys. I hate keys. Yep. You never want that to happen to your unit. You don't know. Use them all, get me. You also have my information here. You guys will be amazed how fast I respond. I'm a super business person. And over the next year, I'm going to be creating a lot more video content. So you guys are welcome to subscribe to my newsletter. And Hoasty puts out a lot of this stuff, whether you manage it individually yourself, which is like totally fine. You know, like if that's what your time's worth, do you. But we have so many owners who will use us as their management company, and they'll go buy another one and another one, because as the guy in the room will tell you, it is not possible to be the person, only you in charge of 4 or 5 units. No chance. It can't be done. It's a full-time job and it doesn't pay enough, right? So the value is outsource that problem to somebody else, let them work on not only optimizing the process, but also work to make you more money, because we are so incentivized to sell big bookings. I'm gonna tell you guys one last little story if you don't have any more questions. So we have a property in Jacksonville, Florida, right? Like anyone go like, ooh, Jacksonville. No, you didn't. No one did that. So it's not like a super happening city, but how we value vacation rentals is always compared to traditional rent. So what we did is we put this thing on the market. We said it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath in Jacksonville. Okay. So what happened was a dredging company, a big construction company, came to us and said, hey, we would love to rent this thing for 90 days. And my eyes like pop out as dollar signs, like bam, 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 money. So we're excited. We get on the phone with them. You know, we figure out how to give them a call. And they said, here's our problem. If we were to have our 4 individual guys go to a hotel, it's going to be $100 to $200 a night. Back of the napkin math, so that's going to be $400 to $800 a night for a hotel room. And then multiply that by 93 days. Like, do the math. It's crazy. Very expensive. Our unit was $275 a night, which is still great because traditional rent in Jacksonville is $1,500 for a 4-bed. Super low. So if we, anyway, the math. I love the math. So long story short, we booked them we threw in some cleanings, we did a discount, but essentially net to my customer, in 3 months, they made what they would have made in 12 months of traditional rental. Let me repeat that. 3 months of vacation renting, they made what they would have made in 12 months as a traditional rental, which is like, that's what we live for. We're out here to do that. Like, those are really exciting, but that can only happen if you have invested into it and you have the vacation rental online. We can't catch these great opportunities. And what I always say is, like, think about it like a traditional rental, right? Like, okay, like raise your hand. I can't see you, but like, do you have a rental property, right? Okay. Please keep your hand up if your tenant has ever said to you, oh my God, you're such a great landlord. I'm going to give you a tip this month. I'm going to give you $5 more on my rent because like you're such an awesome landlord. Not a chance, right? But a vacation rental, the opportunity is always possible to make more money. You can charge more next season. You can charge more on holidays, charge more on Lollapalooza. There's just so many cool opportunities. And that's why I think it's a more exciting way to invest in real estate.